Hello again, Struck Co-op. Diablo IV second season is almost upon us. There isn't that much time left, and here I am returning to making videos regarding the game, starting with a series of short videos covering all things Season 2. The first one of this series would be focused on an overview of the blood powers and pacts and pact armor. First, let's start with an introduction of the second season, then we'll move on to the different subjects at hand. Stepping out from the shadows that once obscured them, the Dark Master's Blood Seekers swoop in to prey upon unsuspecting mortals. Their ravenous appetite have grown the season of blood um, have grown. The season of blood will soon ooze throughout Sanctuary. Diablo 4 second season begins on October 17th at 10 a.m. Pacific time. Dare to look Fanged Destruction in the face and send it back to hell with a new season journey, questline, season events, deadly blood-driven enemies, battle pass, and more. Plus, new Uber endgame bosses have arrived in Sanctuary to increase the variety of endgame activities in Diablo 4. These havoc-wreaking bosses are hard to topple, but can drop unique items and cosmetics found nowhere else. So this is kind of a short overview of the season. Now let's dive in into blood powers, pacts, pact armor, and all of that related to those. Buckwop, Struckwop, and let's go. First, we need to delve deep into what vampiric powers or blood powers, either way. I think the official name is vampiric power, so I'll stick to that. A new seasonal mechanic, that's what it is. And it will be introduced with the second season of Blood. This is the vampiric power system, where players will be able to obtain 22 different vampiric powers through various ways and activate up to 5 of them simultaneously for an added extra layer of their builds. Activating vampiric powers has two requirements. First, a one-time cost of potent blood. We'll cover that in a moment. And next, a requirement of pacts. It could be a single type of pact. It could be multiple type of pact. Again, we'll look into pacts later in different segments of this video for each of those in detail. First, here's a quick glance of all 22 vampiric powers. I'll dive deeper into those after I explain what the blood what the pact system is and what the cost of potent blood is. But 22 vampiric powers. So before we dive deeper into those 15 minor and 7 major, let's move on to potent blood. So what is potent blood? Potent blood is Diablo 4's new currency, and it's needed to unlock vampiric powers. Potent blood can be spent in the vampiric powers tab within the character menu to unlock a random power or power upgrade. Vampiric powers can also be unlocked by completing the seasonal questline and from the Blood Harvest seasonal event. There will be separate new videos for the seasonal event, for the new seasonal event, the Blood Harvest, and another one focusing on the new seasonal quest line. So you could look forward to those coming soon. After learning a vampiric power, you can spend potent blood in the powers tab to take its might to the next level. Each power can be upgraded to a maximum of level 3, and up to 5 powers can be equipped to your character at a time. When you hover over a vampiric power, you'll notice it displays anywhere between 1 to 3 symbols and numbers. These are called pacts, and the number is their associated cost. This is where pact armor comes into play, and this is what the next part of this video will be about. So pacts and pact gear or pact armor, what are those? Well, there are 3 types of pacts in total, so 3 pact types, using the image that you should be seeing on your screen for reference. From left to right, they are called Ferocity, Divinity, and Eternity. Keep your eyes peeled for chest armor, pants, gloves, boots, and helms containing pacts that drop during the season of blood, because they are needed to activate your vampiric powers. Once you have both pact armor and vampiric powers equipped, you need to ensure that the armor you're wearing provides pacts that match the activation cost listed on the power, vampiric power that is. Now let's use an image of legendary gloves as an example. Those gloves provide 1 ferocity, 1 divinity, and 1 eternity pacts. If you have a vampiric power that requires 1 ferocity to activate, then this item alone covers the requirement, and you still have 1 divinity and 1 eternity available. If you equip a second vampiric power that requires both 1 divinity and 1 eternity to activate at the same time, the boots still provide enough packs to activate both powers. It should be the gloves, I think. Not sure why it was written boots on the official site. Then you might not always have armor with the right pacts to activate the vampiric powers in your collection. Diablo 4's developers have made two types of items to help with this situation: standalone pacts and cleansing acids. As the name suggests, standalone pacts are used to add a specific type of pact to an item of your choice, and this can only be done if the maximum amount of pacts um, the maximum amount of that pact type isn't already on that item. And again, armor has a limit of maximum pacts in total and a limit of maximum pacts of a certain type that it can have. But cleansing acid, on the other hand, are used to remove pacts from an item. And there will be all types of cleansing pacts, cleansing acids for each pact type, but there will also be a general one. So you have one that removes specific pact from an item, or one that removes all of them. These crafting items can be obtained by defeating Bloodseekers, which is a new type of enemy, which actually are kind of doppelganger enemies, not for you, but for all types of different Diablo 4 classes. So you'll be encountering rogues, barbarians, necromancers, sorcerers, druids, and any future classes, if they decide to make this a permanent mechanic later on. But yeah, a new type of enemy can, if you defeat it, you can obtain those crafting items, the pacts and the cleansing acids. You can also obtain those new crafting items by acquiring them from the Blood Harvest seasonal event, as well as from the seasonal journey, opulent coffins, and through the new quest line. Use these tools to ensure you always have pact armor that matches your vampiric powers that you would like to use. Now let's have a look at all minor and major vampiric powers, the 15 minor vampiric powers and the 7 major. For a major vampiric power, you would require a total of 6 pacts. For a minor, you would require between 1 and 3. And the numbers you would hear me mention and you would see on your screen are for a fully leveled maximum level 3 vampiric power. So starting with minor ones, and anticipation requires 1 divinity. Your ultimate skills gain 20% cooldown reduction. Your ultimate skills gain 12% increased damage for each nearby enemy affected by your damage over time effects. Then Colon of Fangs, 2 divinity required. Your conjuration, companion, minion, and bat familiar attacks deal 52% increased damage to crowd controlled enemies. Wacky Hit. Your conjuration, companion, minion, and bat familiar have up to 30% chance to inflict vampiric curse when hitting enemies. Next comes Domination, 1 ferocity required. You deal 24% increased damage to enemies who are stunned, immobilized, frozen, or feared. If they're also injured and not an elite, they're instantly killed. Next, Feed the Coven requires 1 eternity. Lucky Hit, Conjuration, Companion, Minion, and Bat familiar attacks have up to 60% chance to restore 10 primary resource to you and increase your damage by 10% for 4 seconds. Next, Hectic requires 3 divinity. For every 5 basic skills you cast, one of your active cooldowns is reduced by 2 seconds. Next, Hemomancy, 3 eternity. Your attacks deal 80% of your maximum life as physical damage to nearby enemies. This can only occur once every 4 seconds. You heal for 1% of your maximum life for each enemy damaged this way. Next, Infection requires 1 ferocity. Hitting enemies with direct damage infects them with pox. Inflicting pox 8 times on an enemy expunges their infection, dealing 70% poison damage. Next is Jagged Spikes. Requires 1 ferocity and 1 divinity at the same time. Thorns have a 10% chance to deal 300% increased damage and chew enemies for 8%. Next is Prey on the Weak, requires 2 ferocity. You deal 16% increased damage to vulnerable enemies. Enemies are vulnerable while affected by a vampiric curse from your other vampiric powers. Next up is Rampart, which is 1 divinity, 1 eternity cost. After not moving for 3 seconds, you gain a barrier for 40% of your maximum life for 6 seconds. This effect can occur once every 20 seconds. Next up, Ravenous. Requires 3 ferocity. Wacky hit up to 20% chance to increase your attack speed by 40% of your total movement speed for 6 seconds. Next, Resilience requires 2 eternity. You gain 1% damage reduction for each 2% life you are missing. Next, Sanguine Brace requires 1 divinity, 1 eternity. When you kill an enemy, fortify for 6% of your base life. While you have more fortified than half of your maximum life, you gain 8% critical strike chance. Next, Terror. 1 ferocity, 1 divinity, 1 eternity required. When struck, you have a 14% chance to fear nearby enemies and slow them by 80% for 2 seconds. You are guaranteed to critically strike enemies who are feared. And the last minor is called Undying, requires 1 eternity. Casting skills heals you for 3% life. Above this bonus, well below 50% life. Next, let's go through the 7 major vampiric powers. Again, all of those require 6 pacts in total to activate. A Cursed Touch requires 6 divinity. Lucky hit up to 44% chance to inflict vampiric curse on enemies. Enemies with the vampiric curse have a 15% chance to spread it to other surrounding enemies. A Cursed Souls deal 200% increased damage. Next, Bathe in Blood requires 3 divinity, 3 eternity. While channeling a skill, you form a pool of blood beneath you. While channeling a skill in a pool, your channeled skills deal 40% increased damage and you gain 30% damage reduction. A pool can only form once every 8 seconds. A key thing to note here is it's not saying whether it's multiplicative or additive. My guess all those numbers are multiplicative. Next is Blood Boil, requires 6 eternity. When your core skills overpower an enemy, you spawn 3 volatile blood drops. Collecting a volatile blood drop causes it to explode, dealing 60% physical damage around you. Every 20 seconds, your next skill is guaranteed to overpower. This would be very good for overpower builds. Call Familiar, 3 ferocity, 3 divinity required. Casting a mastery, weapon mastery, macabre, rat, or imbuement skill cause a bat ally to attack nearby enemies, dealing 80% physical damage with a 30% chance to stun. Flowing Veins is next and requires 2 ferocity, 2 divinity, 2 eternity. You deal 60% increased damage over time to enemies that are moving or affected by a vampiric curse. So for this one, it would be best to synergize it with something that applies a vampiric curse. Next up is Metamorphosis. Requires 2 ferocity, 2 divinity, 2 eternity as well. When you evade, you turn into a cloud of bats, becoming unstoppable for 4 seconds. Enemies along your path take 160% physical damage and are inflicted with vampiric curse. This sounds very good for some builds. Then finally we have Moonrise, which requires 6 ferocity. Hitting an enemy with a basic skill grants you 4% attack speed for 10 seconds, stacking up to 5 times. Upon reaching maximum stacks, you enter a vampiric blood rage, gaining 160% basic skill damage and 15% movement speed for 10 seconds. And this was the list of vampiric powers you can expect.
To get notified when I upload more content like this one or other builds and guides for Wooter and not so Wooter games, you can subscribe to my channel and hit that bell button to not miss out on notifications. As well as keep in mind there's something called memberships on YouTube, which lets you be a paying member for my channel to get access to perks such as emotes and badges made by me, as well as the option to get one-on-one tutoring for the very basics of Adobe Photoshop, Premiere and After Effects. And memberships can be cancelled at any time if you no longer wanna be a member. Thanks for watching all the way until the end. Struck up, keep it cool until next time, and goodbye.